Hello again. I wanted to do an episode this time on one of the greatest guys I've ever met in Ottawa. He was a hockey guy. I would call him Ottawa's hockey ambassador. He was just the nicest, friendliest guy anyone could ever meet. And I happened to meet him through hockey. I happened to meet him through my coach who owned a corner store, and he was friends with the owner, Ted Britton, and he would be hanging out at the store. I lived nearby, and I would go by and see Ted and say hi, and I would see this gentleman in talking with him, laughing, always making jokes, very friendly. Everybody knew him, and so I started to play for Ted when I was in Bantam, and I moved from the house league onto the team. And then Chris would start giving me tips and whatnot, and when he saw I was really interested in hockey, he invited me to his hockey school. It wasn't quite a hockey school at that time. It was just Chris knew everybody, and he would rent the ice, and he would put the word out that I have the ice time at this time, and people would come and they would give Chris some money and get on the ice. He would show us a thing or two, about how to dig into the ice and start off and race and whatnot. And then he would, I think that would be half the time. And then the rest of the time, he would just put a puck on the ice and everybody would have to race around and carry it for as long as they could until someone else took it off him. Anyway, so one time I went, and it was Canterbury Arena. And I was always early, and this guy comes in with his coach, and he put on his skates really quick, and he was out onto the ice. And this coach says to me, that guy's going to go to the NHL one day. I didn't know if I believed him at the time, but I thought, you never know, because all the good hockey players were coming to Chris and play. So I asked him his name, and he said Steve Yzerman. The name didn't mean anything to me at the time, but I was the next to get on the ice, and I saw this guy skating, and I thought, wow, that guy surely is going to go to the NHL. And I never forget that I met him through Chris. So that was a great experience for me to see somebody of that caliber, and I met him through Chris. So I hung out with Chris, and we would drive and we would go watch the Ottawa 67s practice. Usually when they were in the playoffs, they would have a little practice before on their days off. And the other team would usually come in while the 67s were practicing, and it would be so funny that all the players from the other team would know Chris, or at least the ones who had played in Ottawa, and they would come over to Chris. It was like, he was the most important guy in the whole arena. It was just something special for me. I'd be sitting next to Chris, and all these famous players would come by and say hi to Chris, ask how he was doing, and then he would tell them how they were doing. It was just so magical, And then later on, when I was working for the government, anytime the topic of hockey would come up, and somebody would say, oh yeah, I used to play hockey, and I would ask them, did they know Chris Finnerty? And sure enough, they knew him, and they had a story, and it was like something of a secret code that anybody who played hockey knew Chris Finnerty. He was so ahead of his time. He was talking about that the hockey should move to 4-on-4 years and years before they even thought of doing it for the overtime that they now do. And I remember thinking, if they didn't do it, I would stop watching. I did. Chris still loved hockey, so he kept going, but once they didn't go to 4-on-4, hockey, it's so fast now. The players are so fast that I kind of lost my enjoyment of watching hockey. I watched the highlights of the juniors today, and it's just not hockey as the way we played it when I was young. So it kind of lost its luster for me, but I had so many memories of Chris. One was that my brother played at St. Lawrence University, and my father would always drive down for the games on Friday and Saturday night with the family. We'd all go. And it was just the most beautiful thing. My brother was the captain of the team, and he would play defense, and it would just be so magical. There were people like Jacques Martin and Mike Keenan played for St. Lawrence, and we would see all the other players, and they would give out the program, and you could see players. So anyways, Chris wanted to drive me down to watch one of the games when I was older then. I said, sure, let's go, but I have to drop by my father's and just tell him where I'm going. In those days, we didn't have cell phones or any way to get in contact. So he drives by the house, and I say to my dad, I'm going to go with Chris to watch a game at St. Lawrence University. And my father said, well, who is this guy? How come he's not coming in the house? And I thought to myself, well, he doesn't have to come into the house. He's Chris Finnerty. To me, he was like a movie star. But my father didn't know him and wasn't happy that he wasn't coming into the house, and so he said, you can't go. And I was left with the choice, do I go, and when I come back I might be kicked out of my house, or do I just not go? I chose the latter, and to my regret, it was one of the biggest regrets of my life that I didn't go, because I would have had a good time spending time with Chris, going to see a hockey game. And I just miss him terribly. I haven't seen him for the longest time, but I know that he's got a hockey school now. I think at least it's fun for him to get out, and he was such a great guy, and everybody knew Chris in Ottawa, and he was just one of the most wonderful guys that I ever met, and I wish him well, and I hope he's doing great. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.